This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter and welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe on this day. And on this day, July the 21st, 1991, history was made at the Hall of Fame. Yes, it's the first time a Canadian, and I believe the only time a Canadian, has ever been elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, it's hard for Canadians to do well in the major sports unless it's hockey, because hockey is our sport. But in baseball, there have been many Canadians that have done decently in the major leagues. George Gibson was one of the first people to be endorsed Coca-Cola back in the 1900s. He was a great catcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates back in their dynasty days. George Selkirk was basically the replacement for Babe Ruth in right field for the Yankees. Jack Graney was a decent hitter and then a better broadcaster. Who else was a big Canadian? Phil Marchand in the 40s and 50s and all that. Not a lot of Canadians. But then came this whirlwind starting pitcher who used to play for the Philadelphia Phillies before joining the Chicago Cubs. That's Fergie Jenkins, in one of the most lopsided trades of all time. Fergie Jenkins was basically given away by Philly because they didn't think he would be good enough and all that. And he was a bit wild. So they sent him to the Cubs, and the Cubs just basically rode Fergie like a thoroughbred, if you will. Fergie helped them in the 1969 season. Him and Ken Holtzman were the heroes of the 69 Cubs. Unfortunately, they lost the division to a powerful New York Mets team. Now, a lot of people said that the Black Cat cursed the Cubs, but basically the Mets had to play at a super duper, a 700 winning percentage clip to get the division? I don't know. But anyway, regardless, Fergie was basically Cubs pitching personified, and he didn't let anything get to him. So you got to know about Fergie Jenkins and how good he really was, because he was just an icon. He was a Philly, and then he was traded for Larry Jackson and Bob Boole in 1966. Jenkins did pretty good for himself, helping out the team and all that, and won the Cy Young in 1971, which was great. He was the first Canadian to do it. The only other Canadian was Eric Gagne in 2003 when he was lights out as a closer. A lot of people said Jenkins should not have won the Cy Young Award, saying that Tom Seaver was better. But Seaver pitched in a pitcher-friendly park, whereas Fergie pitched in a hitter-friendly park. So anyway, he looked pretty well. All that. He didn't feel like playing baseball. But in 1973, the Cubs decided to get rid of him to the Texas Rangers for Bill Madlock, among others. Jenkins won 25 games and almost got the Cy Young Award. He lost to Catfish Hunter. And weirdly, Jenkins was actually ahead of Hunter in the MVP voting. He was named AL Comeback Player of the Year for coming back from a terrible season. Fergie would play for many seasons for Texas. Unfortunately, he got in trouble as a Texas Ranger as he was possessing 3 grams of cocaine, 2 grams of hashish, and a couple of grams of marijuana in Toronto. He was suspended indefinitely. Jenkins basically still looked good and all that. Fergie pitched a few years in the Inter-County Beer League for London. He actually ran for a seat in Windsor in the Ontario general election, but lost to the NDP. Jenkins led the league twice and all that. Oh, he with Greg Maddux, Kurt Schilling, and Pedro Martinez are the only major league pitchers to have more than 3,000 strikeouts, but less than 1,000 walks. Unfortunately, Jenkins is third for most home runs given up in a career at only behind Robin Roberts and Jamie Moyer. So yeah, it was amazing. About Fergie Jenkins getting to the Hall of Fame in 1991. He was actually asked to throw out the ceremony on the first pitch. So Jenkins did a lot of great works and all of that. Jenkins was named to the Order of Canada for being Canada's best known Major League player and all that. Yeah, he was an icon for Canadian people around, Fergie Jenkins. I still say he's the greatest Canadian starting pitcher of all time. I mean, I gotta think, who else was a good Canadian starting pitcher? Like Oscar Judd, maybe? Or that guy from the 1910s. What's his name? Phil Ford. Russ Ford, I guess. But yeah, Fergie brought Canadian baseball on the map. And there's an influx of Canadian superstars after him. Like Freddie Freeman, Joey Votto, uh, Justin Martineau, Russell Martin, a lot of them. He set the mark for Canadians everywhere. That's good, don't you think? Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.